I'll just read a few paragraphs in. It starts with Octopus Girl straightens, that paragraph. So,
Got it.
Sorry, my dog is chewing on a bone in the background. Octopus Girl straightens, leans, settles her ass on the curve. There we go, much better. Ashes to ashes, tush to dust. Oh, death, boredom, the great monotony. Sidewalk, butt, palm tree. Heart hammering with ill planning. Brain fast with interpersonal empties. Why so much so this, to be in it all alone? Better to let surfers coast the ride of her dumb nerves, high off her loser comedy of a life. Water junkies with pink eyes, expertly at ease, hair greasy, oily, cresting her fears, her failings. Writer falls, lesbo dungeon, the monster's room. Kicked out of the house at 16 for loving the ladies. Same old story, same old hair. Octopus Girl looks up. Boring you much? What a waste of page, she thinks, her thighs. Where's the bus, writer? Don't you know how I'm waiting? Give me my treasure ship, guide me my wheel. Star Quest seatbelt, box me in quick, take me to a new land. Messy tentacle hair, watery cunt lust, dirty nose ring. Just another gross middle finger fish smelly, wish upon a star, desperate dyke. One day, no more shameful sad. One day, be like a cute queer. When again? Waiting like this, Octopus Girl longs for a place that doesn't exist, a place beyond fear, beyond acceptance even. She longs for a monsterly blue wave, a wave so impossible you couldn't begin to comprehend it. For the Pacific, sparkling with LA dreams and used soda cans, to show off its translucent sea belly, to unroll in its foamy white-capped scroll an aquatic city of wild and noble things, the creatures of the deep, beyond love, beyond shame, that are free. And I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah, it's so powerful, and your imagination, your just the character that you're creating by having this sort of monologue is so powerful. I wonder if you talk about, I guess I would just be curious, what about this portion of your story sort of is powerful to you, and then we can talk more about it, or like why you chose to share this portion in particular.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. This part was kind of like the first part I wrote, so it was like, I don't know, it started off as just one paragraph that I just like wrote on the computer, and then I just didn't delete it. So I guess that part just felt more like personal than maybe other parts of the piece. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, also, it does feel like that. It does seem like it is stream of consciousness, like this coming from this other place, that is almost like you're tapping into something that you didn't know that you could tap into.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
uh, yes, I also know that feeling, and I think that it's something that is sort of transcendent in a way, and that definitely comes through um, in the writing. I I guess I'd want to go um, back to kind of the origin story for this piece. So you wrote that in kind of a stream of consciousness. Um, and then how did the rest of the story kind of form around it? Better way to ask that. What was sort of the impetus for writing the story um, in
Yeah.
a fuller sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was like, yeah, a stream of consciousness paragraph that like didn't really make sense. And then I was at my dad's house in California, and I was just like sitting at the table, I think like before we were having dinner, and I just started writing. And then I like kind of like kept that in my computer for a couple of years. And then one night I came back to it when there was like a contest that was due. And I was like, I'm gonna turn this into a story like 2 hours before the deadline. And
Awesome.
then yeah, as one does. And then I just did that, and it somehow became a 10-page story. And then at a certain point, it got reduced back to 5 pages. So it's had quite a journey. But I decided that the 5-page version I was most happy with. So yeah.
Yeah, and then could you talk a little bit about the character of Octopus Girl?
Yeah, so she's like semi-autobiographical, but yeah, she's just like a 16-year-old girl who runs away from home because she's gay and her dad won't accept her, and he kind of kicks her out. Not exactly, but he doesn't leave her many options, and she runs away to New York City to start a new life.
Um, wow. I wondered I mean, you're saying it's semi-autobiographical. I mean, it seems really personal, so I was wondering if it was either your story or someone who is really close to you, because it just feels really intimate, the writing itself. Um, I guess I also wonder if creating this kind of octopus creature, we can go into kind of more into that because I think it's such a beautiful way and interesting way to tell the story. But um, I would wonder kind of why the octopus, like where that came in to kind of abstracting the story a bit, or how would you sort of describe that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, where did the octopus come in? Um, it's funny because I wouldn't even say that I'm like a huge octopus person, but
Mhm.
like, yeah, I don't know. I do have an octopus on like tattoo on me, so like I
Ooh.
think yeah maybe I'm more of an octopus person than I will admit. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know really the meaning. I think I like to think that the reader can kind of interpret whatever they want from the story, like whether
Mhm.
she really is like part octopus or she imagines that she's octopus or she's just a normal girl with like messy hair. Like it can really be like whatever you want it to be. For me, I think maybe I wanted her to be a real human being, but she kind of identifies as like
Mhm.
an octopus girl because she feels slimy and gross and just all the shame that comes with being gay when you're, not out and you don't have like a community to support you. So
Mhm.
octopus is just what came to me. Maybe they're misunderstood creatures. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you kind of go into it in a way that's really satisfying at the end of the story. And I don't know if this was originally how you were ending it or what, but we can kind of you kind of go into the aspects or their like properties of the octopus as this incredible creature that we all kind of know about, but there's still a lot of mystery about them, but you're kind of marveling at, well, like the last line of your story, like they're the strange made beautiful, which is such a succinct way to put it. Um, uh, well, just to name some of these things, I just love this whole ending of your story. But you said they can shrink to the size of a grapefruit and yet are tremendously strong. And perhaps what she likes best of all, their body is not organized like ours. They have 3 hearts and 9 brains. They have blue blood. They can taste with their entire bodies. They can breathe water like gods. They're suckers and a feeder and a watery jeweled eye. They're the strange made beautiful. I didn't mean to do a reading, but sorry, I just
Oh,
really
thank
like
you.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just was reading it again before our call, and I was like, I love this. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I also would just wonder. I mean, people often ask this about short story writers, and I want to make sure that it's not offensive. But do you see a future for this character and this kind of um, drama that's unfolding here for a longer piece?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think so, definitely, just because it originally was a 10-page story and like the rest of it was her going to New York and like coming
Mm.
to terms with herself. And yeah, I think she's an interesting character, so I definitely have I was thinking of making it a novel and just like seeing what happened, like where that world took me. So, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, there seems like there's so much palpable um, kind of character uh, potential, but also development that could take place. But it also, and this is the beautiful thing about flash fiction, is that it does exist in this little world, and we can kind of walk away from it and feel like it was satisfying to hear that story. Um,
Yeah, yeah, totally.
um, and Oh, we have a bunch of people who were saying hello. Okay. I wondered if we could talk a little bit about your writing process. I mean, you gave us a little bit of hint there when you said that you submitted this or another piece like an hour before the deadline. So do you kind of like that adrenaline rush, or was that a different experience for you than usual?
My friends are probably laughing because they know that that is a pretty typical experience, like,
Mhm.
right up to the deadline. So yeah, it's pretty common. I like the adrenaline rush, yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's for the for submitting to things specifically, but then you also said that you wrote this and then didn't kind of do anything with it for like 2 years. So do you have for your writing practice, is there a lot of things that you just write every day and you kind of come back to things, or how do you actually create full pieces?
Yeah, definitely let things kind of just like stew in your brain and then just
Mhm.
come back to it. Yeah, I think that the things that are meant to be written will be written.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know, sometimes like if something doesn't get written and it's just an idea, then maybe that's all it like was ever supposed to be.
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah, like it's hard because yeah, I try to write in a journal constantly, and then but my creative writing is separate from my journaling, but I
Hmm.
am trying to make them less separate because I'm like, why does one have to be so separate from the other? But I don't know if that answers your
Yes.
question.
It does, and I'm so interested in that. Um, I I think that that's probably a really common issue for creative writers because you're sort of like, well, this is personal, and it's also like a journal is personal, but it's also a place where you can take kind of creative leaps, but then no one's ever seeing it. So you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
maybe this is like gold in here, but I'll
yeah,
never know. Yeah, that's interesting to like kind of pursue how to merge the two. Um,
yeah.
but I guess so for like any kind of sort of habits or rituals that you have for that creative process, like for some people, it's like you walk, or it's when you're jogging, or it's when you're like um, driving, or something that you kind of get ideas, or do you get them from sort of writing on a daily basis?
No, yeah, definitely physical movement helps. When I'm going on walks, when I run,
Hmm.
like this is the worst time to get ideas, but I always get them on the subway when like my stop is in like 2 stops and I'm on the way to work. I'll always get like an idea then. I don't know. Just like something,
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay, then
Subway ideas.
what do you do in that moment? Like, do you like pull out a journal? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
pull out my phone journal and then I write
Okay.
in my notes. Yeah. So I have a bunch of notes on my phone, so I'll just write really, really quickly, and then it'll be my stop, and then I'll try like to get out before I miss my stop.
Yes. But I think that's really powerful. It kind of goes to what you're saying about the stories are supposed to be written will be written, because you're like, once that seed's kind of been planted, you can kind of come back and be like, maybe not. But
Yeah, yeah, totally.
it'll kind of surface if the time is right for that piece.
Yeah, yeah. If it's like supposed to be, and then I don't know, like, does it really matter what ideas like get made and what doesn't get made? Because in this, like in a certain sense, we're all recycling the same ideas, I think.
Okay, well, tell more about that. Like in what way?
I always write about the same stuff over and over again, I feel like.
You write about the same things over and over again, and then you sort of mean that other people are kind of doing the same thing, or talk more about what you mean by that.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know if other people do this, but I definitely find that I just write about the same themes, the same like kind of characters. Like they're always outcasts, they're always like
Mm.
runaways, troublemakers. So like if one story didn't happen, I imagine that like some cousin of that character would like find their way in another story I wrote, I guess.
Mm. Yeah. That's really neat. Okay, so a bunch of your stories are kind of, I mean, not necessarily Octopus Girl, but they're people who have run away or are in some way like transplants somewhere, someplace else.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder how common that is. I we can, well, actually we're gonna have a Q&A in a few minutes, so we can see if anyone wants to speak to that. Um, yeah, I think on that note, I guess what are like some themes or messages that run through this story and also other stories that you write, um, that you want people to really take away from your work? I guess we should concentrate on this piece because it's probably too general to say that. But like when someone reads a story of yours, in particular this one, what do you want them to kind of walk away from it with, if anything?
Yeah, I don't know if there's one thing in particular. I think that if they walk away with like maybe hope or like some kind of like feeling that is yeah, I don't know, some kind of feeling that lasts, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if that really ties into the themes I was trying to do. Like, I always bring like wildness into my stories, like whether it's nature or like kind of a human wildness. But I always
Mm.
like, I don't know, and like magical and the mundane. But yeah, if someone walks away with like, I don't know, any kind of feeling, I feel like I was successful in my writing.
Mm. Yeah, like these kinds of a strong emotion that they might not even be able to really name, but it's just something big.
Yeah, yeah, as
Um,
long as it's something big that like, yeah, it's a, I don't know, so like some sensation or something. Like that's what I like when I read, like, yeah, I don't know, to have like, I don't know, some strange sensation that you leave the page with or something.
yeah. I mean, that definitely happened with this story for sure. And I think anyone reading it, even if they had like no idea what that experience would be like, or even if they don't even um, know that it's coming from a personal place from you, like there's a sense of it being like very having a visceral reaction to it, and also wanting to know more. I think um that the other thing about when you were saying about talking, that you bring nature into your, or not nature, but you said wildness,
Yeah,
um, which I guess is nature, but you bring a wildness into your stories. I just wonder if that often is like kind of facts about nature, like because this one you are talking at the end about um, octopi. Um, like, do you often bring in kind of facts into your work?
yeah, yeah. I do like bringing in facts. I love lists like Kelly Link.
Oh,
She's been a huge influence, probably the biggest influence out of any
cool.
writer living or dead, and she loves doing lists. And so
Mm.
I copy her in a lot of my stories, and I'll do like facts and lists. But it's really fun. Like I don't know, it's just like, and it helps somehow to like move through the story. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's really neat. I'm sorry to say I don't know that writer, but now I'm going to look them up.
Oh, she's
Um,
great. Yeah, definitely check her out. Yeah, Magic for Beginners. That's a really good short story collection. For anyone listening, if you've never read Kelly Link, I definitely recommend it.
that is really cool. Okay, I'm just writing a note to myself right now. Oh, so cool. Um, well, yeah, okay, so you just went into the next set of questions I had, and that is about influences. So, okay, Kelly Link. Um, anyone else? I always hate when people ask me this question because I have trouble thinking of things of names right off the top of my mind. But if you have other people who you read that you just like they light you up, I would love to know who they are.
Yeah, totally. I have like quite a few random writers that come to mind. Michael Chabon, he is very influential. I love his novel Wonder Boys is like it's a queer story that I just reread it every year. Let's see, I love Jeanette Winterson, she's amazing. George Saunders. Let's see, I recently read Sally Rooney, Conversations with Friends. I have read that book so many times. Yeah, she's amazing.
That one I know. That's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know, Andre Aciman. I like nonfiction too. Like, I'm trying to think. I recently reread The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. She's great. Yeah, like I don't know, different like random writers. Like, I don't know, I like lyrical prose. Yeah, but Kelly Link is definitely at the top of the list. Like, her collection, Stranger Things Happen, White Cat, Black Cat, and then probably Magic for Beginners. Her stories, just like each story is like its own world, and just like kind of blew my brain away. Like, I was like, we can write like that. When I first read her, it was like she gave me permission to just do anything on the page. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's such a great way to put it. And that this freedom in your writing. I'm just thinking also this part in your story where you talk about, well, first of all, just that you address like the writer is really neat.
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, wait a minute. She's like speaking to her creator at this moment. But I guess, yeah, it was in the first part of the story when you say, like, we're talking about being a runaway, but then you're like, above a corn dog of a moon. Just love craving a raw egg, nicotine, moon pie slice. Yeah, I mean, there's just this almost, it doesn't have to completely connect to logic, but we kind of get what you mean. And I think that's the really cool thing about like language in general, is it kind of is just a gesture a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm really thank you for that, because I when I reread it, I'm like, oh my God, like, does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I think we do, but it's because you understand that you're, well, I think that you understand that you're playing and with language and descriptions, and so it comes across as like we're all kind of in it, enjoying it together. Um, yeah, I think you kind of run into issues when it's like you're like, you should just get this, like you should understand what I mean, but that's not how it comes across.
Cool. Good.
Yeah. So, well, everyone will be able to read this story. I'm afraid to say I don't even know if it's like on our website yet. Um, I don't know if it went on our website, but I can put something up about that on our next post, because I want to make sure everyone knows where to read this story. And okay, I want to be sure that I allow some folks to ask some questions. So let me see. And also, let's try to put our video back on. Do you want to try?
Okay.
I did have a question. It happens to be from your roommate. But we love that he sent this.
Cool. Oh gosh.
So I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to read it to you. Where do you feel the piece's voice comes from? He said, your writing feels like a patchwork of metaphors, vivid language, and musicality, but never compromises coherence, pace, and a sense of forward momentum. So, beautifully said. So again, the first process, where do you feel the piece's voice comes from? I'm going to turn off my video.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say, yeah, I don't know, like it comes from a part of me that definitely was tied to my childhood that like you can often forget about, like all the shame and beauty and like I don't know, just the like pure quality of being a queer teenager that we often forget about. And like, I think that that part came out and surfaced when I was writing the story. So I guess, yeah, the piece comes from that part of me that is kind of forgotten now that I'm like in New York City where you can be gay and it's not
Yeah.
a big deal, everyone's gay. And the part of me that grew up in a really small town where I didn't know any gay people. So yeah, maybe like that kind of resurfaced when I was writing this.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, kind of going back to like it is like there's this reservoir in you, like we kind of have these um untapped portions of ourselves, and then when we're writing, we can kind of like access them. I mean, for some people, that's through like all sorts of different art mediums, but I think for the really wonderful thing about writing is that you're able to tell a story that you and your body kind of want to tell in
Yeah,
a way.
totally. Yeah.
um, that I think for visual arts, it's sometimes not as clear sort of what the story is, but when you have a narrative format, it's a really wonderful place for that kind of openness. Um,
Yeah.
Let me see if, okay, no one else asked a specific question, so I guess I will just say, um, where would you like people to read you and find you, and like, or in another way, how do you want to let people know what you've been writing and what you're publishing? Because I know you've been published a bunch of places as well. So what's kind of a good way to find your writing?
I mean, as you can tell, I'm not on Instagram
Right.
ever. I'm like really not on the internet much, and like when I have something good that's published, like I'll let you know, but I'm
Hmm.
not quite there yet, to be honest. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that if you're writing and you're publishing and people like hear about your work, and they'll, if you tell people like, hey, I got in this magazine, like it becomes like people will be able to share that about you. And I really hope that, and we all at Fatal Flaw hope that it's that we are creating a great resource for writers, both and visual artists who are emerging and also established, that it's this great platform where it's like you get to create the audience for yourself, and we're helping you to do that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
thank you
it.
so much for like helping emerging writers. It really means a lot.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And um, yes, I speak for our whole team when I say thank you for submitting and for being part of Fatal Flaw. And yes, I will find out for sure how people can read your story. But if
Yes.
everyone wants to, yeah, if everyone wants to go to Fatal Flaw, and check out the magazine, and we also have a new issue coming out on the 19th, I believe, of this month. Um, and it's going to be amazing. So I want everyone to check that out and check out more of Sasha's work when it arrives to us on the internet
Yeah.
or wherever. Because yes, the internet is not end all be all, and I think it's really cool that you're not on it a lot. I think that's cool. Um, so yes, thank you so much for doing this interview. And we'll
Well, thank
hope
you
to,
so much for having me on here.
yeah.